Hey, and welcome back to my channel. In this video series, we are exploring the Yamas and Niyamas. Yay! This is video 3, I believe it's video 3 in the series, where we are continuing to explore Ahimsa or nonviolence. Ahimsa is the Sanskrit word for nonviolence, as they are laid out in the book, The Yamas Niyamas by Deborah Adele. So if you're following along, great. If not, you want to go back, explore some of the other videos that I've done leading up until now, or if not, just stick around and enjoy. We are getting into week 3. The week 3 exercise we'll discuss at the end of the video, but I'm super excited about this video because this was one of my favorite paragraphs. I don't want to really call it a chapter, but in the book, the way that the book is laid out, we go through each Yama and Niyama, and under each Yama and Niyama there are kind of headers and a paragraph about each one that deeply explores and kind of peels away at each Yama and Niyama like an onion, so to speak. And this week we are getting into one of my favorites, violence to others. And again, if you haven't been following along, I do want to just touch on again the definition of violence as we're discussing it in this Yama is not necessarily the definition of violence that we've come to understand in our Western thinking. So in Eastern thinking, violence is something that plays out, anything in our life that is feeling unbalanced is potentially would be categorized as violence. So just so you're following along, keep an open mind if you didn't watch my other videos, or you're just picking up here that when I say violence, it's not necessarily just this Western definition of what we think that violence is. So as we get into the chapter, coming off of the chapter of self-love, and we're moving into this paragraph about violence to others, this was just so wild to read through. It's one thing in life that I wish that if everyone could just read one thing throughout their journey in how they directly deal with how we deal with ourselves, but also in how we deal with other people, our world would be a wildly different, wonderful, loving place if we just sat and read this one chapter. You know, it's amazing all of the classes that we have in school where, you know, health class, we learn absolutely nothing about our bodies. Health class in high school, what we talked about for 4 years was STDs. I mean, for crying out loud, we learn nothing about how we should deal with one another as just souls having very human experiences. So I have a bunch of highlights through this chapter, and I also was feeling inspired to write a couple things down, which I will share as well. So let's get into it. Violence to others. So as we start off this paragraph, what Deborah starts talking about is how when we don't feel fulfilled within ourselves, it becomes so easy for us. And we say it's judgment or judgmental, but just bear with me because we're going to it's a little deeper than that. When we don't find happiness within ourselves, we automatically, and I have been on the giving and receiving end of this in my life, look at other people's lives and just start micromanaging them. We look at people around us and we start playing with them like they're pieces of chess on a chessboard, guiding them and making suggestions which are completely unwarranted about what we think that they should be doing with themselves and with their time. That 110% comes from a place, as you can tell, I am very passionate about this, comes from a place of people not being happy with themselves. It is so easy to tell someone, why would you do that? Why would you go there? Well, you know what? I don't know why that person would do what they're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's really not for you to worry about. And it's also not for you to be guiding me and directing me through my journey of life. Because wherever you feel you can foresee me falling flat on my face, it's exactly at that moment when I fall flat on my face that I need to be falling on my face. I need to be down in that valley so that I can develop on a personal level what I need to develop through my life's journey to get myself up and out and moving forward. If everyone made correct decisions all of the time and life is just a walk in the park, I don't know anybody that life is a walk in the park for. This beautiful journey, this wild life that we live, then you don't develop. You don't develop your backbone. You don't develop your voice. You don't develop your thick skin. You don't develop your resilience. You don't evolve as a human being. And for some reason, we start to play judge and jury on other people's lives. And that almost always, if you've been on the receiving end of that, it almost always comes from someone whose life probably needs a lot of work as well. Because we're all imperfect and we're all just on this journey of life. So Deborah shares this, which I'll share with you from her book, kind of echoing this. When we are unwilling to look deeply and courageously into our own lives, we can easily violate ourselves in many subtle ways that we may not even be aware of, thinking that we are actually helping them. So we now move forward through this little mini chapter here. I still don't know what to call it, but I'll call it a mini chapter, where we distinguish the difference between help and support and what that looks like. When we take it upon ourselves to help the other, we whittle away at their sense of autonomy. The violence we do to others by thinking we know what is best for them is dramatically illustrated in a story from India. It seems a passerby witnessed a monkey in a tree with a fish. The monkey was saying to the fish, "But I saved you from drowning." The monkey, thinking it had saved the fish, had taken the fish to a place that couldn't meet any of the fish's needs for survival or for growth. Amen, alleluia. That's it. That's exactly it. Now, while none of this, and I will get into, I'll read a bit to you about what I had written down. But I will say that it's always unintentional. And it's usually always with the best of intentions that we want to reach out. We want to help someone. We want to stop the child from crying. We want to take the bad day away. We want to make things better. Well, we can't. We can't. So there is a level of acceptance that needs to happen around that, is that you cannot fix another person. You cannot fix what they are going through. You can't take their day and take the sorrows of their day away and make their day have gone differently. You can't. So what do we do? And a lot of times within this well-intentioned help, what we're doing is we're stifling the other person. We're stifling them and stealing from them. We're taking from them their own directly ordained experience. Whether we believe that all of these moments are directly ordained from a higher power or not, I believe that they are, but it's whatever you believe. Either way, you're stealing from that person when you don't support them in living through the experience where they are and in trying to constantly help them out. And a lot of times, and in a lot of ways, that ends up backfiring. Kind of like a little side story for you if we need to put this into real life perspective. You know, Jim is 45. He just recently lost his job and his car's dead. He's got no car to get around. He asked someone at church to give him a lift on Sunday. Sure, who wouldn't do that, right? Well, what started as one Sunday has now turned into 4 Sundays, which has now turned into 6 months of Jim's problem directly becoming someone else's problem. But in giving him a ride, some of us would say, well, what's the big deal, right? If he's heading in that direction anyway. Well, I've been on the receiving end of this, and here's what I'll tell you. Sometimes after church on Sunday, you want to go run some errands. You want to go do other things. Sometimes you might not feel like having to taxi drive someone around, which is what it starts to feel like once you hit 6 months. It becomes this balance of, okay, I helped Jim. I helped him. I helped him for a month. I helped him for 3. For crying out loud, I helped him with 6. What can I do short of purchasing this person a car? Because clearly I can't do that. But what can I do to help support him as he goes through this time, this period in his life? And what resources do I have or am I aware of where maybe they could offer him some help or more assistance? Or maybe we get him involved and get him on the list with the church shuttle so that he can take the shuttle just like everybody else that doesn't have a car or needs assistance getting to church on Sunday. You following? So, and maybe that discomfort will help Jim get to the next place of where he needs to be so that he can, maybe it's help with a resume. Do you need help with your resume? Do you know someone that's hiring? Do you have whatever, a list of potential jobs I could apply for? In helping service him that way and supporting him in where he is with his life, instead of constantly trying to help and constantly stepping in and making this hurdle that he has lower than it probably should be after 6 months. It's fair to start asking, okay, well, what is he doing where can I support? Because I can't continue to taxi drive on Sundays. So I think that that's just a very light, real world example where it can definitely go much, much deeper than that, of what continuous help, sure, hey, I can give you a lift, no problem. We've all been there. We've all needed that from someone. But there's help and then there's support. And there's us in our own arrogance, because it's 100% arrogance. Again, total well-meaning, but it's still arrogant for us to think that we can fix someone else's problem. You are not God. What you can do, which is people, I believe, and I feel so strongly about this, that we need to do a better job of, is the support piece in supporting other people through where they are in their lives. Nellie Morton, a feminist writer of the 70s, spoke eloquently about the power we have to hear each other into being. This is so good. Rachel Naomi Remen echoes, quote, unquote, our listening creates a sanctuary for the homeless parts within another person. There is nothing to fix or save in another. There is only the gift of listening. People need a safe place to hear themselves. To return to the monkey and the fish story, we all have to offer in the end is to get into the water with those in need, not bring them into the tree with us. And that doesn't mean when we get down into the gutter with someone, into the gutter of their issue, it's just about being. It's not about fixing. It's not about absorbing what that person's problem is, because that person's issue is 100% their issue. And if you're empathic like me, you have a tendency to take on what other people are feeling, which for me puts me in a place of kind of wanting to be alone a lot, because it can be very intense and just a very sensory experience for me. It doesn't mean you have to take it on. It just means that your presence and simply just literally saying to someone, how can I support you through this? All you have to do. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do anything more than that. You just need to learn how to listen and how to just be present and give that person the safe place they need to hear themselves. So I'm going to give you a very personal example of this, of what I've, again, speaking from my own experience, can't speak for anybody else. But on that note, this was something I started journaling about this morning when I was reading that, because it really did touch me deeply. I experienced this firsthand when my parents died. Both of my parents, my mother and my father, died within 14 months of each other, and it was very unexpected. So it was definitely shocking for sure. Non-maliciously, others either said all the wrong things, tried to relate to my experience by talking about their own personal situations, which in turn made everything that I was going through and everything that was happening with me about them. Or very honestly, people would say, which I appreciate, man, I love a bold, honest person that would just, nothing touched my heart more than when somebody looked at me at one of my parents' viewings and just said, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Got it. I'd rather you say nothing than say something while I'm on the edge of, I'm well into my grief, but everything that people are saying to me, I'm right on this edge of debating whether to be responsive or reactive, which grief is a whole other topic, and I think I might do a video series on that as well, because I've just started having a lot of fun doing this. First couple of videos I was very confused about everything, but now that I'm kind of settling in, I'm really enjoying doing this every week. And my hope, my ultimate hope with all of this is that what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, and me talking about my experiences may help other people. And that's really what it comes down to. Just trying to shift the consciousness of humanity and just where our society is. And hopefully this is my little part of YouTube, and my thoughts can hopefully do that. But back to this. I observed that while many were busy trying to fix my grief, not many supported. Not many people know how to support. The support needed comes in the hours, weeks, months that follow. I realize there is truly no greater gift than people who can hold space for you to talk, feel, and heal. You can't fix it, but you can support someone through. As humans, beautiful souls having a very human experience, we all need to learn to do this. We owe it to humanity to learn how to do this. You don't have to know what to say. You won't know what to say to someone that's been through something catastrophic. You don't know what to say. I don't expect you to know what to say. No one expects you to know what to say. Just don't say something stupid. Don't try to relate to my situation by talking about something that happened to you 25 years ago and bending my ear about it for 45 minutes, yet I'm the one that needs to talk. I didn't really have people in my life that were able to just do that for me. And if any one of them heard me say that, people close to me in my life really heard me say that, they would say, oh, Regina, but you could call me. It's not that, because that's about you. It's about you genuinely just being concerned about a friend and popping in and saying, how are you doing? But then also realizing that grief is something that, we learn to live with, but there are so many stages to grief that is something that's ongoing. And, yeah, sure, maybe you need to get a therapist and pay someone to listen to you talk. That's really the core of what's wrong with humanity, is that we don't want to be bogged down with someone else's feelings unless there's really something terribly wrong happening. We can't be bothered with just holding some space for someone to talk about what they're going through. Because what I will say is, for those of us that have been there, it's kind of our innate duty to do that for other people. And I hope that I do. I try to do. I don't think I'm perfect. I think I'm still learning, but I do try to do that for other people. I think we just need to be more conscious of our human emotions, and that there isn't an off switch. Again, there are stages to things, and you don't need to listen to someone harp on the same thing every day for the next 20 years. It's just popping in every now and then and just doing the right thing. How are you doing today? How are you doing with things? And at least opening the door and creating that inviting space for someone to release and just talk. And ultimately, that's all we want. We want to know that we're heard and feel that we're heard. Even if we're not understood, but just to know, and just that lightness of being, of knowing that we can be in the presence of other people, and that those people care enough about us to give us that time and give us that space. Within this section, Deborah goes on to talk about and explore worry. And this was another big one too. She says, worry is a lack of faith in the other and cannot exist simultaneously with love. Either we have faith in the other person to do their best or we don't. Worry says, I don't trust you to do your life right. Therein lies arrogance. And she also goes on to say, we both devalue and insult others when we worry about them. And I think that this is all very non-malicious when we do these things. But when you really think about it, I think worry and concern for another person really does come from a place of love. So I do struggle with worry is a lack of faith and cannot exist simultaneously with love. Yes. In matters of money, in matters of employment and things like that. These are the pretty standard things that people worry about, which is fair. But you also have to have a strong sense of self. And in love of self, you know that you're capable. You know that you're worthy. You know that you are able to have gainful employment. I'm so sorry that my dog is cleaning herself right now. You know that you have the faith. When you have faith that things are going to be better, they will be better. So I understand the statement that worry and love cannot exist simultaneously. It's when we spend, and I will say, use the word waste our time. And this goes for parents dealing with children. Again, you can't take the day's experience away. If it had something directly to do with me, is there something that I need to do differently, or I need to respond to a situation that my kid had at school today? Address something because he had a bad day, or did he just have a bad day because a friend didn't sit with him at lunch or whatever? All very valid reasons. I mean, people, children, everyone's allowed to feel the way that they want to feel. The difference is that outward person's experience, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, or whether it's your kid, has nothing to do with you. So for your day to be ruined, because you're in so much emotional distress because your kid had a rough day at school, that sucks. But don't make it about you. Make sure that you're keeping the focus about them and just giving them space to express themselves without trying to keep stepping in and helping, and you're not allowing them to just evolve in the experience. We both devalue and insult others when we worry about them. When we offer help versus support, it sets forth the idea, I have something that you are lacking, so I'm going to keep stepping in and trying to help you because I'm just so much more experienced at this than you are. So I just have this thing that you just don't have, and it just trains the other person to believe that they're just lacking in some way where they are not. Versus when we just support the other person, we're on an equal level playing field. where we're saying, you know what, you have stuff to work through, I have stuff to work through, you're down in this gutter right now, I could sit here with you. I could sit here with you and just be your friend and give you space to speak and give you my time so that you know and understand that you're heard and that I understand the experience you're going through. But I'm not going to keep stepping in just to try to help and take it away, because all it's doing is making it messy for you to find your own voice through the situation and grow and evolve. An example she gives is a reference to a battered women's shelter, and they have a beautiful motto that states, every woman has her own answer, every woman has her own timing, every woman has her own path. And that goes for every single man and woman, every child, every elderly person. But my biggest takeaways from that are just take time to support other people. And this brings us to the week 3 question for exploration. This week, watch where you are running interference on others' lives. Are you a worrier, a fixer? Discern the difference between help and support. Notice what you might be avoiding in your own life because you're so interested in other people's lives. And that is a huge one. I used to spend, so much time focused on situations that my friends were in, who they were dating. Oh, I can't believe I can't believe she's marrying that guy. You know, unless there's a legitimate concern and a friend comes to me, which oftentimes they do, I am typically the person that folks come to for advice for some reason. I don't feel that I have any answers that others don't have, but there is just something about me that makes people want to talk, and I use that to my advantage of making sure, practicing holding space for people, and I love it. But there was a time in my life when that would happen, and I would just feel like I needed, why else would they be coming to me if they weren't expecting me to have some answer? So I would constantly put forth what I now see as my opinions about how they should be living their life. Now, unless it was someone that was dating or about to marry someone that was very directly being abused, if a friend came to me and said they wanted to jump out of an airplane without a parachute, yes, I'm going to let you know that I think that that's completely insane, and I'm going to be very honest with you about it. If a friend comes to me and says, I want you to be really honest with me, I will say to them, are you sure about that? Because I will be very honest with you, but don't ask for my honesty and then get upset when I'm saying something that you don't want to hear, and vice versa. There are just times in my life that I really value the input of another person, but I also heavily evaluate who I have in my life and why I'm asking that person directly for that input, if that makes sense. Another conversation for another time, but everyone, even well-meaning friends that care a lot about us, are not always on our sides. And they're not always on our sides when they see that maybe we're going somewhere that they don't see themselves going, or they couldn't possibly see it for themselves, so therefore they're not supportive. Again, hopefully these videos are helping you. Hopefully you'll think about that week 3 exercise and kind of keep it top of mind and write things down and kind of think about it and just have it top of mind and notice at the end of each day kind of how you handled situations with other people and also how you've handled situations with yourself. Is there, if you're spending a lot of time thinking about someone else's situation, there's probably something you need to work on with you. So with that, I hope you're getting something out of these videos. I'm definitely getting something out of recording them. So have a wonderful week. And if you haven't taken a moment today just to thank God for being alive, I encourage you to please do so now. And with that, stay well.